good afternoon, gamers. It's your boy, Jordan CS No here, and welcome back to another cringy-ass video on the dark web. And today's video is honestly quite a special one, cause like, deadass, I barely even know what to say about it, because the guy in the video that we're gonna be watching basically says that console exclusives need to exist so that Sony can sell their consumers faulty hardware. Word for word, that is what he says. Those aren't my words. You know, basically Sony shouldn't have to make a good product, and people should still be forced to buy it anyway. Which is honestly just some really stupid fucking logic. Like, it's genuinely one of the dumbest takes I think I've ever heard or seen. Anyway, the video comes from a very small channel by the name of the Irish Redneck, in all caps. It's titled, "We Need Console Exclusives." And it has possibly one of my favorite thumbnails of all time. Now yes, I did watch this on stream, and yes, I am very late with making this video, but like, you ain't gonna do shit about it. But anyway, without further ado, let's just get straight into the video.
What up everybody, gonna have to make this video pretty short because I keep messing up on it, so I don't even have as much time to work with now.
Okay, I have a genuine question here. What the fuck is it with Sony fanboys and just having the worst audio imaginable? And then it's somehow louder in my right ear than it is in my left ear. Like, balance your audio, guys. Like, imagine if I was recording videos all like, "Hey guys, CS No here, just here to tell you I really love D."
You know, people keep going on about how it's so anti-consumer for these game consoles to have exclusives and whatnot, right, you know?
I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't think there's really much you could call pro-consumer about locking away content to one system when it could be perfectly accessible on another system, just because you want to force people to buy your system. Like, I don't see what exactly is pro-consumer about that.
But I'm like, you know what, if every game is available on every system, then some of these systems wouldn't sell as well as they do. I mean, I'm just saying.
And how is that your problem, or my problem? And how does that make exclusives any less anti-consumer? Like, if no one wants to buy the fucking system, they shouldn't have to buy the system. Because otherwise they can't play this one game that they really want to play. What I think is that maybe consoles should compete with each other, not based off of how many games they can keep off the other system, but on how good the actual fucking console is. Otherwise known as the product that you are buying.
You honestly think that Nintendo, with their limited hardware, would sell as well as they do if you can literally get Mario, Legend of Zelda, or any other Nintendo exclusive on the other platforms?
I mean, they might and they might not. Is that really my problem? I'm not Nintendo. Although to be honest, they probably still would sell pretty well, mainly because you can already get pretty much every single Nintendo exclusive on PC via emulation, and their system, which is a handheld, is incredibly cheap. None of the other systems are handheld, so I think because Nintendo offers value that the other consoles don't, they would still sell well. It's basically what I was saying before about how consoles should compete in terms of what value the system actually offers.
I mean, sure, you'd still have your Nintendo loyalists that would go out and buy the Nintendo system. But at the end of the day, I'm just going to say right now, for me personally, if I can get Mario on the Xbox One or any other Nintendo exclusive on the Xbox One, I would just stick with Xbox.
Then in that case, you should just stick with Xbox. If you want to play that game on your Xbox, why should you be forced to buy another system that you don't want? Like, it just sounds like you're describing all scenarios that are better than what we actually have.
Or I just stick with Nintendo if everything was available on it. Either way, though, I would definitely stick with one of those two systems if every, you know, game is available on every system there is.
But if you would want to stick with those two systems, and not buy, like, a PlayStation or anything like that, why the fuck should you be forced to buy a PlayStation for like 3 games that you actually want to play? Like, wouldn't you just rather have the choice of sticking with those 2 systems because you actually want to play on those 2 systems? But don't worry guys, it only gets dumber from here.
Because in my experience, when it comes to hardware, it seems like the Xbox and the Nintendo system always holds up better. And what I mean is I'm not having to deal with like a bunch of system crashes and having to do a bunch of, system resets and everything else. I'm not having to deal with as much issues and whatnot.
Oh, the Xbox system has definitely had issues, believe me. However, if the reason you don't want to buy a PlayStation 5 or a PlayStation is because they have issues, shouldn't that be your choice to play the game that you want to play on the system without issues? Or less issues? Like, wouldn't you rather they fix all the issues and make the system more appealing to you so that you think, huh, maybe I do actually want to play on this system, instead of it just like, oh, well, this one game I want to play, I can only get on that system, so I don't really have a choice. Like, isn't the first option better?
Microsoft, when they make a console, or when Nintendo makes their console, they make sure that their hardware works well. They don't, cut corners or anything like that, like what Sony does.
I think they all cut corners, my guy. Like, I don't think cutting corners is something exclusive to PlayStation. That one's a multi-platform title.
That's one of the reasons why some of my PS4, I've had issues with every single PlayStation I've ever owned, because Sony cuts corners, and this is something I've actually found out, that they cut corners and they cheapen down on some of the hardware that they put in within their systems, and that's the reason why you're going to run into more system crashes and things like that when it comes to PlayStation as opposed to what you would on the Xbox or Nintendo.
I'm going to say this one more time, but wouldn't you rather then that you have a choice of where you can buy the games that you want to play on that system, so that Sony then say, shit, we better make good hardware and fix our hardware problems, not, oh well, they can't get our games anywhere else, so it doesn't matter. Like, wouldn't you rather have more freedom surrounding where you can and can't play games, rather than just, you have to play this game here?
The only reason why Sony keeps, continuing to succeed in terms of their gaming systems is because of their exclusives. I'm just saying, man. Yeah, what you're just saying is that they can literally peddle you a shitty product that you don't want just because they have a few exclusive games. And that's perfectly fine, as opposed to them actually making a good product so that, you'll actually want to buy it. Like, this works as an explanation for why console exclusives exist, but it really doesn't work for an explanation as to why we need console exclusives. Because what you end up arguing saying this kind of thing is, well, the opposite. And there's a lot of people, I'm not the only one. My brother's not the only one. My nephews are not the only ones. I've seen a lot of people that have literally transitioned from PlayStation over to Xbox because they're fed up with Sony's faulty hardware.
Good! Bro, if Sony puts out faulty hardware, then people shouldn't fucking buy it. Like, they should have to fix the hardware so that it isn't faulty. But essentially what you're saying here is that they actually shouldn't have to do that because they have exclusives.
If it wasn't for exclusives, the PlayStation probably wouldn't even be a thing, because everybody would be buying God of War or Uncharted or whatever other PlayStation exclusives there are for the Xbox or for Nintendo. Not to mention you have the people who, well, since they prefer to achievement hunt or trophy hunt, if it was possible to get Nintendo exclusives on other systems, you'd have people going out and buying those, games for the Xbox or PlayStation instead of Nintendo.
And is there anything wrong with that? Genuinely. No, there isn't. Like, what you just described, being able to play all these different games on all these different platforms is a good thing. Like, so fucking what if someone wants to play a PlayStation game on Xbox or a Nintendo game on PlayStation. It doesn't matter. People should have the choice to do those things.
Whenever one company starts doing bad because they're not having any exclusives to help keep their company afloat, like what Sony does, or what Nintendo has done for a very long time, then some of these companies would probably stop making systems altogether because they wouldn't have enough funds or whatever to be able to keep making systems.
Yeah, I don't know if you would know this, but PlayStation, Nintendo, and Xbox don't make most of their money from exclusive games. Most of the money that those companies make comes from the cuts that they take from other games on their platform, made by third-party developers, which usually those third-party developers make their games multi-platform. And even still, we've seen time and time again that the only result of PlayStation or Xbox games becoming multi-platform and more widely available is Xbox and PlayStation making more money, not struggling to keep their company afloat.
Which means that we'd have less of an option when it comes to systems, and then it would cause a company to basically make a monopoly.
I think it would quite literally be the opposite. Being that, you know, people are given more choice for where they can play their games. In fact, it actually means that these companies have to innovate more on the actual product that they're selling.
Basically, instead of having to pay $300 or $400 for a brand new console, you'd have to be paying about double to triple that amount.
My guy, at that fucking point, people would just buy a PC.
So at the end of the day, we need exclusives. Whether you all want to admit it or not, whether you like it or not, we need exclusives.
So to conclude that amazing video, we need exclusives so that these companies don't actually have to innovate on the console that they're selling you. I don't know, man. I really don't get this shit. Anyway, that's gonna be the end of today's video. Thanks for watching. If you did enjoy, leave a like. If you're new to the channel, why not subscribe? Turn on those post notifications so you never miss an upload. I don't know, the rest of my links are in the description. Join the channel if you want to support. That's gonna be all for today. Until the next one, piss off.